Yeah, the call of wild's always bringing me home. Call of wild's always bringing me home. Call of wild's always bringing me home.
Right? I know I always have to fix my hair. Okay, perfect. Well, hello, wild ones, and welcome to the Find Your Wild podcast. I'm your host, Brianna, and today we are with the beautiful Sarah Hanafin of Wolf Girl Maine and Wolf Spirit Healing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so nice to officially meet you
I know.
via phone call, but yeah, when we were just chatting back and forth, your hot tub looked so nice and peaceful and soothing. So
It was so nice. I live in a beautiful, quiet place in Maine, and there's a hot tub in the backyard looking over the trees, and I'm like, what a beautiful fall evening. I'm just gonna sit in the hot tub, and I was like, okay, life is good.
there's nothing more beautiful, and you showed me like a quick like snippet, but like looking at the stars, being comfortable and cozy in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, I'm so happy that you were able to join me tonight, and I think that we just have a lot in common, so I'm very excited about this conversation. So, I think just for people that don't know a little bit about your account and what you do, just explain, I guess, Wolf Girl Maine and Wolf Spirit Healing a little bit for people that don't know you yet.
Yeah, so again, my name is Sarah. I have been working with wolves a little over 9 years now, which that has completely changed my entire life, and also really inspired my healing work even more. I would say I've always been into healing. I was always that girl that loved crystals and going into the witchy shops and going into natural medicine and herbal medicine, and 20 years ago it wasn't the cool thing to do. And I would say about 10 years ago I got into Reiki. I got my first Reiki certification, and about a year after that I had discovered the Wolf Sanctuary, which is Wolves of Maine now here in Maine, and they had asked me to come do Reiki on the wolves. They rescue wolves and wolf hybrids from people that own them and they can no longer keep them, and so they asked me to come do some energy work with some of these rescues, and I got there, and it was the most profound connection. These three hybrids laid down in front of me and basically went to sleep. And she took me in with, if anyone has followed my Instagram page, which I started 2 years ago, they're familiar with Lomasi and Anokai. For those that don't know Lomasi and Anokai, they were they were full wolves, and I was brought in with them my first day, which usually it takes about a year for the volunteers to get in. And I am someone that has gone through a lot of bullying, a lot of abuse. I never felt like I really belonged anywhere. And when I came face to face with Lomasi for the first time, it was this sense of home, this sense of belonging, and this sense of spirit that overtook me. And they became my home. They became my family. They accepted me when nobody else did, when I really felt like I had nowhere to go or I didn't belong anywhere. And a few years ago, I watched a beautiful documentary called Medicine of the Wolf. If you guys have not seen it, please go see it. It's from my dear friend Julia Huffman. and it's when I first learned about wolf hunting, and what was going on, um, really with the persecution of wolves. And these animals had become my friends, my family, my soulmates, and they saved my life in so many ways. I went through some really dark times, and they were there for me. And after watching that, I said to myself, they saved my life. I need to spend my life advocating and saving them, because they have been viewed in such a terrible way for hundreds, if not more, years, as these evil predators and people. Oh, they're going to go after your kids, and how they're portrayed in Hollywood. And they are the exact opposite. They are so full of love, so full of acceptance, so full of beautiful spirit, and family, and how they take care of each other. And I knew at that point that I needed to do everything I could to change the perception of wolves. So I had started my Instagram 2 years ago, Wolf Girl Maine. I was actually home with a back injury and laying in bed, and I thought, I'm going to put stuff on this page, and hopefully my friends or a couple people will see it and like it. And I had about 100 people on there, and I would post every day because it just made me so happy. And it just started growing and growing from there. And to see where it is now, I think is so beautiful, because it's a testament to show how many people love wolves, because they've been hated for so many years. But getting involved in the wolf community, meeting people like you, meeting so many amazing people that advocate for wolves and love them. And you even look at Yellowstone, where they bring in millions of dollars a year. And when the park was the dead months in Yellowstone, where the winter no one was going, now there's high traffic going in, bringing revenue to not only the park but all the towns surrounding it. The wolf watchers, the people that follow many social media accounts for wolves and post about them, it has really moved me in so many ways to see how many people really do advocate for these animals. And I truly believe that there are way more people that love them than hate them. And I really believe that we are coming to a shift in our ecosystem for not only wolves, but for so many animals. And I just feel so blessed to be a part of this shift in this movement.
That was so beautifully said, Sarah. Beautiful start. And it's, I wanted to add, I feel like it's also like the universe kind of, I don't want to say made you get a back injury, but while you were there, I think felt your heart and your soul, and almost like the spirit of the of all of the wolves knew your pure heart and knew you were like the perfect person to be able to speak for their heart and show people the heart of wolves, right? And their individuality and their uniqueness, and like you said, their family bonds and their connectiveness, and it's so great, all of these people that are putting in so much work to beat these misconceptions and these negative views on wolves, because it's really not true, and especially from all these education purposes, I think that there definitely feels like there's a shift in consciousness about wolves, but I think that we still have a little ways to go, right? Unfortunately, there were a couple of things that happened this year that I think were negative towards wolves, and we're still pushing towards getting them back on the federal protection lists, and the very unfortunate incident in Wyoming, right? Where I don't know if you want to, maybe, I think you probably have more information about that, but I mean, it was kind of heard around the world, but if you'd like to maybe just describe about what happened in Wyoming and what we can do to make bring awareness to especially this situation because it's particularly horrible.
Absolutely. And the thing is that it was such a truly horrific act. Um, and if anything, this brought light to so many incidences that many people did not know about. Um, as a lot of people knew and that saw and read about or watched the videos, a man named Cody Roberts um, of Daniel, Wyoming, ran down a yearling pup. She was not even a year old. Ran her down with a snowmobile, proceeded to put a shock collar around her, tape her mouth shut, bring her to a local bar, which was owned by, I believe, his aunt, and proceeded to take pictures with her and smile with her and just torture this poor animal. And if anyone has seen these pictures or videos, you can see how terrified this wolf was.
Yeah,
And then he took her out back and shot her, from what we know. And you think about
truly, truly horrific.
you think
Just
about how
gross.
yeah how horrible this was. And the sad thing is that he was only fined $250, and the only thing in the state of Wyoming that he was considered to have done wrong was just possess a wild animal. So running down an animal in Wyoming, it's called there's actually a name for it. It's called whacking, and
Oh,
there are no protections for predators. Basically, the state of Wyoming says that you can torture and kill a wild predator at any means necessary because it is a wild predator. If that had been done to a pet, it would have been considered animal abuse. But because it's done to a wild animal and a predator, it's simply okay to do any of these heinous acts, which does not. It seems so crazy to me that we value one animal's life over another, and I think that's what a lot of us now are bringing to the forefront is these individual stories about whether it's 907F, which is the oldest female in Yellowstone right now, just gave birth to her
but
sixth
it's
litter
such a badass. I
with,
love her.
with one eye. I mean, she is incredible.
Yeah.
We also have my other favorite, Wolf 8. We have Wolf 21, O 06, who inspired the O 06 legacy. Um, there are so many. There's also Wolf 813 out of Wisconsin. There are so many individual stories of these animals that people need to understand they are sentient beings. And this is something that Dr. Jane Goodall really brought to the forefront years ago when she studied chimpanzees in Africa, was showing that they are so deeply emotional. They are so connected to each other. They are so smart. And these individual stories of these wolves, of these triumphs that they've gone through, the families that they've raised, their legacies that they leave. These people aren't just killing an animal, which in itself is terrible, but they're killing a family member. They're killing a matriarch or the alpha male of the group. They're
Yeah.
killing a brother, a sister. They are these family units and these sentient beings. And you're taking that away from a family, and they're not understanding that these wild animals, any animal, whether it's a wild animal or a domestic animal, has feelings, has a soul, has a spirit. And I went to a beautiful bison ceremony in Yellowstone, um, about the white buffalo calf ceremony.
So
And
cool.
this wonderful man named Mike Meese, who's a part of the Buffalo Field campaign, he had spoken, and he had talked to the Native Americans, and one thing they say was, it's not the animals that have lost their way, it's the humans, because we have forgotten our connection, and we have forgotten our connection to nature, and how we are all connected together. And we need to learn from these animals. And the wolf, to the Native Americans, is known as the great teacher. And I truly believe that these wolves, and their stories and what is going on, are coming here to teach us.
Absolutely. And I wanted to add also about this Cody Roberts guy, because I feel like I could get into the other segment a lot, because I want to, so I want to pause there, but I wanted to add that I don't want people out in public in general. I don't think that it's a good thing for anybody to be torturing animals, because what would they do to humans? How do they view other people? I just, if someone's going to torture and kill something, I think it's much different than somebody that is taking for food, using the whole thing, using the whole animal,
Yes.
as opposed to just going out there and torturing and killing for no reason. And then, like you said, they're intricate families. And isn't it true that a lot of these packs break up when the mother or father or the alpha gets killed as well?
Yeah, a lot of times, that could be the end of a pack, and the rest of the pack might dissolve, and they hunt as a unit. They hunt as a pack. Each pack member has its place, whether they're the caregiver of the pups, whether they're helping with hunting, whether they're staying behind. And the problem is that these farmers and ranchers, not, and I'm not lumping everyone into the same, there are amazing farmers and ranchers out there.
Of course, right.
But the ones that are blaming the wolves for cattle loss, which, wolves are actually only responsible for less than 1% of cattle loss. There's something called imprinting, and when they are born, their prey is imprinted in their mind of what they need to go after. If a matriarch, if the mother or father is killed, and these pups are young, and they break up, they're not going to understand what the imprint of their prey is, so they might go after cattle because that's an easy prey. That's all they know. Or if they are older and they don't have that pack to help them, they are kind of forced to go after something a little bit easier. So, in a way, these farmers and ranchers want to kill these wolves, but if you're breaking up a pack, you're taking away their community of hunting, and also almost kind of forcing them into that easier prey. But yeah, it can kill. The killing of one wolf in a pack can be detrimental to the entire pack.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad. And I think that people like you, people in the wolf community, are doing a really good job. But these are really important notes to just bring out there, because they are so misunderstood. And the way that they hunt, the way that they interact with each other is really so intricate. And of course, the second humans get involved and mess things up, right? Like, they would have been fine on their own.
Yeah.
Like, another fact, I was, because this past week was Wolf Awareness Week. I don't know when I'm gonna exactly share this, but Wolf Awareness Week just passed. And one of the things that I saw on there was that wolves kind of keep their populations in check by themselves. So, and I think that predators also have a different, I think hunting predators doesn't make as much sense to me as hunting a deer or an elk, just because they're just so much more intelligent as well.
Yeah, and also too, it's there are, and some people will. There's a lot of people out there that say, all hunting, we shouldn't hunt animals or kill animals, and I respect anyone's opinion on what they believe.
Sure. Yeah, me too.
I have also worked with many hunters. I know many hunters. I'm friends with them. There are so many, a lot of ethical hunters that really respect nature. They respect what they're doing. They hunt for, and in many places they are hunting for sustenance. It's the way for them to feed their family, but they are doing it in an ethical way and respecting it. So when you hunt like an elk or a deer, and you're using the meat to feed your family, and respecting it. And a lot of times, I mean, Native Americans are so connected to the earth. They respect these animals so much, and they thanked these animals for sacrificing their life to give them life. And but when it comes to hunting the predators, you're not using their meat for anything.
Right.
You're not appreciating the animal. You're purely hunting it out of hatred. You are not connected to this animal, and the problem is it's also the torture campaigns, the running over of the snowmobiles, the trapping.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll trap these animals and they won't check their traps for weeks, and these animals sometimes could even like chew their leg off. Sometimes they die because they're not able to eat. So there's nothing ethical about that, and that is the difference when you're hunting for sustenance and when you're hunting for hatred.
100%. And yeah, trapping has never sat right with me. I think you hit the nail on the head with, I would say I don't like to lump anybody into one specific thing, right? There's always going to be good eggs and bad eggs in whatever part of society you look in, but there is definitely still a big part. And I think that as a society, as people, if we want to grow, like people that say that they are spiritual, they should want to grow towards not wanting this around in general. They don't want people doing this to animals. It's not a good example to our children. It's not a good thing to keep in our society, that negative energy, that bad energy. And like you're saying, it's done for no reason. It's not like you're feeding your whole family. You're using every part of the animal. You're thankful, and you have such a huge source for many months just from one animal, right? That's the whole reason why wolves are important, is actually because they're cleaning up sick animals, and they're feeding off all the ends. But what I can't imagine that there's anything useful coming about. Like you said, it's just hatred towards this animal. And I love the way that Native Americans look and connect with. And I hope that we as a society can go back to viewing the land like that, because the more, I think it is true, we are super disconnected from the earth. And I think the more that we realize how connected we are to each of these beings, I think that we can see how intelligent they are, we can see their souls, and that I think that God, or whatever you want to call it, they put them there. You look into the eyes of an animal, I'm sure you look into the eyes of a wolf, and you see that connection, that bond.
Yeah, I mean, even I was gone for 2 weeks, and I was in Yellowstone, and I was at Wolf Hollow yesterday, and these wolves are just so amazing. And Scully, who I've talked about before, he's a black wolf. He's a very special guy, and the thing I love about him is that he was born with early onset juvenile cataracts. He was not able to pick up a lot. So I watched something one time called the Nine Faces of Wolves. Wolves are big communicators, and one of their biggest communications is actually through physical and facial expressions. They are big, whether it's their tail, whether it's their eyes, their ears, how they move their head, tilt their head. They give off so many signs of what they need. But because Scully was born partially blind, he did not pick up on a lot of those social cues. He he was able to get surgery on one of his eyes, so they do believe he does have full vision in one of his eyes. Um, but he got very dependent on humans, and he loves so much. He has the deepest heart, and the beautiful thing about him is that if he was born in the wild, the chances of him surviving would be very few. There is a 50% puppy mortality rate amongst wolf pups. Um, and but just to see him thriving, and he's so loving, but and because I am an energy healer, and him and I have connected so well, and when I got there yesterday, he started to cry. He started crying, and it was so beautiful. And as soon as he saw me, he just cried and he cried and he cried, and I went over, and he just put his head right up, and it was, and it's those moments that it's like I share those moments. It was just me and him there, and those are the things that people don't see about these animals unless you're working with them or you've really studied them, is this like pure love. And just he was so happy, and he was so thankful, and he expresses his emotions so much. And to any of the volunteers there, he's such a favorite because he is so full of love. Sometimes doesn't understand personal space. um, but but it's just it's the funniest thing. But this is what people don't understand, and I keep saying to a lot of my friends that know these personal stories, whether it's the wolves they work with or the wolves in Yellowstone, is people want to make change, and they want to fight for things that they are connected with and that they feel something for. And instead of saying, oh, just the Yellowstone wolves or wolves, and it's great that we can talk about the scientific facts all day, which is amazing. I mean, they're so great for the ecosystem. When they got reintroduced into Yellowstone, they were a huge part of the landscape change, and they are they call it something called a trophic cascade, which brings down like so many things in the ecosystem. They help so many different species, and you can talk about science till you're blue in the face, but when people read about Wolf 8 or 907F or O6 or 813 from Wisconsin or so many of these other wolves, and they read their stories and their triumphs and how they've overcome so much, that's when their hearts start to get connected, and that's when they say, I need to do something. Like when I had, my life was changed from Lomasi and Anokai, and then when I found out about what was going on with the wolf hunting, it went from me going, oh wow, that's horrible about wolves, to, oh my gosh, that's my family. I need to do something about that. And I'm hoping that people that maybe were indifferent about wolves or maybe didn't like them, they hear about these individual stories and these triumphs, and they connect, or maybe they have someone in their life that's similar to that has overcome challenges, and it becomes a spirit and an individual instead of just an animal.
Yeah, I think that I know a lot of scientists, and I think that there definitely should be a line, but tried not to anthropomorphize animals. But I do think that in order to like you said, to really connect, to really save them, we have to bring that heart and the connection to animals in general. So I think, being able to see them as the spirit of the wolf and combining that with their individuality. Especially the stories in Yellowstone are so impactful, and really special and cool. Like you said, 907F is 11 years old, having puppies, running Yellowstone the Queen. And I just think it's very inspiring. But I think we also need that heart. We need to be able to connect with them and see them as, like, I love the idea of the spirit of the wolf representing, like, I think that also looking at animals, we should pick up their traits as something that's easy to pick up on, right? Like, you would see a wolf, it's very easy to know that wolves are high on endurance, and to bring that into our lives somehow. Like, oh, how can I have like an endurance like a wolf? Or how can I connect with my family, like a wolf? And I think that in that way, we need to connect and to see wolves as something that we can relate to, because they are similar to us,
Absolutely, and that's what the Native Americans did. They would study the wolves and how they interacted as a family unit, and they would actually mirror how they had their pack and had their family, and they would take that teaching into their own families and their own communities, and they truly believe that they are relatives of each other, and what happens to them, what happens to one happens to the other, and they are so spiritually connected that we have to understand what we do to these animals, in turn is going to happen to us, because we need the balance. And like you said, wolves, they know how to regulate themselves. They know how to regulate other animals, and a lot of hunters would say, "Oh well, they're gonna they're gonna take away all the elk. They're gonna hunt them all." And it's like, well, no, because the wolves are gonna go after the sick and the weak. There have been many wolves that will go after the sick, which have chronic wasting disease, which is a huge issue in deer and elk, and it's decimating a lot of populations of the elk and the deer. And the wolves have been shown to not actually contract chronic wasting disease, so they will hunt and kill these animals that have it, which will actually keep these herds stronger, which is going to create more healthier elk, and the people that are hunting them are going to go after the biggest and strongest ones. So there really is no competition there, because the wolves are not going to go after the biggest and strongest animal, because that could end up detrimental to them. So these wolves are actually keeping these herds healthier, and going to help the population by taking out the weak and the sick. And what also Native Americans used to do was they would hunt together. And so there's a huge change in coexistence, and we have glorified taking as much as we want and not just taking what we need. But as a society, I think there is too much of overabundance, and thinking, well, this is mine just because I am human. I own this. This is my land. This belongs to me. When this land, this earth, belongs to all of us, all of these living beings, and the wolves were here before us.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. And I think that also I wanted to talk about sometimes the misconception too with wolves being viewed as like the alpha wolf, and I think people take this and view it and use it and is like, oh well, I'm the alpha wolf, which is not at all what that is, right? Maybe just explain a little bit about what the alpha wolf actually is, and that whole misconception.
Yeah, and this is something we always love to do and explain, especially doing presentations at Wolf Hollow, is I would say probably about 90% of the time that people come in for our presentations, they always say, "So who's the alpha? Who's the alpha here?" And there was a study done in the 70s where they took multiple adult wolves that were not family, and put them together in an enclosed space. And of course, there's going to be animosity, there's going to be fighting. And so they did this study off of that to say, oh, the alpha wolf is the strongest and the one, and they have to fight for their place, which is completely untrue. The alpha wolves of the pack are just the mom and dad. It is the breeding pair in the pack, and the rest of the pack members are the family members. It's going to be the siblings. And there's no fight for the top. They're not fighting each other to get to the top. They're they're a strong family unit. There have been altercations with with territory and other packs against each other, and that's where you'll get some fighting there. But when it comes to the alphas, and it so frustrates me now because you see it used in so many things. Oh, the alpha, whether it's a business name or this, and it's talking about the toughest and strongest. And you take Wolf 8, for example, who is one of my absolute favorites. If you guys have not read The Rise of Wolf 8 by Rick McIntyre, I strongly suggest that you do. He was born the runt of his litter. He was small. His brothers were very large. He was getting bullied and picked on a daily basis. And probably they call wolves that don't leave and start their own family. It's called like a celibate subordinate. So they agree that they will follow the rules and they will stay with the pack. And one day he was out with his brothers. They found, I believe, a deer carcass, and a grizzly bear came, and they kind of took off with this carcass, and the grizzly bear was chasing them, and the brothers kind of took off, and Wolf 8 was behind, kind of lagging behind. And as Rick and a few other people are watching this transpire, they're thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to get killed by this grizzly bear. And all of a sudden, Wolf 8 turns around, he stops, he stands his ground to this grizzly bear, this little runt, and the grizzly bear stopped in its tracks and
like, whoa.
yeah, and ended up turning around and walking away. And Wolf 8 ended up dispersing the pack. He was not your quintessential, alpha male, not large, not the toughest. And what he ended up doing was, there was Wolf 9 and 10. Wolf 10 was actually illegally shot in Yellowstone, and 9 was left with young pups. At this time, this is when the biologists, which they don't like to interfere at all, but they did put them in an acclimation pen and would bring them food because mom could not leave these young pups. And so they would bring them food, carcasses, until once the pups got stronger, they cut a hole in the acclimation pen so they could come and go. Wolf 8 ended up befriending some of the pups, and Wolf 9 saw how loving and caring he was towards these pups, so she took him in as her mate. And further on the story, and I won't give too much away, but he ends up battling some of the strongest wolves in Yellowstone and winning. And one of the things he did was, a lot of times when two male alphas from different packs fight, one of them will end up killing the other one. and he won a bunch of battles and never killed any of the wolves. And he was this beautiful leader. He adopted all of her pups and raised them as his own, and then had his own pups. And he became one of the most legendary alpha males in Yellowstone. And he started off as this little runt who was getting bullied and picked on, which so many of us can relate to that. And his story of perseverance and triumph to become one of the most legendary wolves in Yellowstone, I think speaks volumes to so many of us that are either bullied or go through abuse or think that we aren't going to amount to anything. But if we persevere and we stand our ground like he did to that grizzly, it just goes to show what we can achieve. And these are the stories that I love out of these wolves. The fact that they overcome so much adversity, and they do have so much to teach us. And these are the stories that the people that are against them need to hear, because it's absolutely beautiful. And a lot of people, if they're hunting or if they're taken away, and so many incredible wolves out of Yellowstone that have crossed the border, that have had these legacies, that have done so much, have been shot and killed once they leave the borders, and it takes away that beautiful legacy, and sometimes these beautiful matriarchs or alpha males. And this is what they're losing. It's not just an animal that is killed, it is a family member that left such a mark.
Yeah. Such legacy, such beautiful stories, and the weaving of Yellowstone, and the animals that I feel like stand out there are incredibly powerful. And that story about Wolf 8 was so beautiful. I actually didn't know that story. That makes me very interested to read that book. But him standing up to the grizzly, and I think going back to our main point, using his heart, right, is amazing. And the way that he was such a good example too. And if people take the time to actually just stay and notice, things in nature, notice the patterns, the stories that nature is trying to relay back to us and communicate with us, there's so much wisdom and lessons to be learned there, that I think that we as humans, and a lot of us out there, I mean, not us, but a lot of other people out there are missing. And I think it's so important that people can see what these wolves actually bring. Hi, Wild Ones. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. This episode is brought to you by my clothing brand, Femme Sauvage, and I'm going to link that in the description below, along with a little discount code for you. Be sure to check it out. We also donate $5 with each of our animal designs towards specific charities. I will also have those in the description below. And enjoy the rest of the episode. Thanks so much for listening. I wanted to ask you also if you feel comfortable talking about the reading that you said that you got, and some of the animal communication that happened. I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, and it's funny because there's a lot of people that are like, okay, animal communication or energy, and I'm used to it being an energy person.
Sure.
And I mean, even and kind of what led up to this too, which I always say I couldn't write this script anymore, but kind of what led up to this, me getting this reading as well. I went to Yellowstone. Obviously, Wolf 8 is my favorite, 907F is my favorite. Those are probably my two favorite wolves. And when I got into Montana, I was in Gardner. The night before I went out, I sent out healing energy into the park. I sent out my energy to the wolves, and we went in the next morning, And Rick McIntyre, who wrote about Wolf 8 and Wolf 21 and so many other wolves and has been researching wolves for many, many years, is someone that I really look up to. And so that first morning we get, there was a radio that my friend Leo, who was a guide for many years there, and they said, oh, there's wolves in Slough Creek. So we go down, we hike up this little hill, we get there, set up the scope, and who's my first wolf that I see was 907F and her pack and her mate and all of the pack members, all 14 pack members. And they had said they hadn't seen that activity in a while. That was the most active she had been. And not only did I see her as my first wolf, but I was standing next to Rick McIntyre. And I got to talk to Rick and tell him that Wolf 8 was my other favorite wolf of all time, not knowing that I was standing right in Wolf 8's territory. And he was telling me the stories about Wolf 8. He said, remember when he battled 38 from the Druids and he was running up the hill? That was right there. And I'm going, is this happening? Like, my first morning in Yellowstone was standing next to Rick, who I admire. My first wolf is 907F. And the craziest thing was at my last day in Yellowstone, my friend Leo Leckie does the genealogy. So I'd posted about this. The wolves in Yellowstone are on Ancestry.com. It's free to join. You can trace all the wolves that are there now back to the original wolves that were released in '95.
So, so cool, by the way.
Yeah,
so cool.
It's amazing, and they've put so much work into this. It's amazing, and the one thing I love about this genealogy was that the day I was leaving, Leo had 907F's genealogy pulled up. So there's a little circle, and you can see her different relatives and her genealogy. And Leo looks at me and he says, "Oh my gosh!" And I said, "What?" He said, "I didn't even know this till right this second." And he said, "Look at her genealogy." And he said, Wolf 8 is her great grandfather.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I just got chills.
Yeah.
I totally just got chills. Wow.
And I always say that this is my journey, but I am not on this journey alone. The wolves are guiding me, and I truly believe, like you said, even with my back injury, I truly believe every downfall, everything happens for a reason. I had to be laid up in bed for those months because I had to have the time to put into researching the wolves and finding out what was going on and building this community and my voice. And I believe that the wolves are guiding me and that their messages need to be told. And my friend Jaylene Fontaine, I've known her for over 10 years. She's an animal communicator, and we always joke because if people say, I don't believe in that, and then she says things and things happen that nobody else would know. And you're like, what? And so that's my biggest thing with energy work is my favorite people to work on are people that don't believe in it. And then they see something or they feel something and they're like, because even that, I think the second day we were in Yellowstone and nobody could find the Junction Butte pack, which is 907F's pack. And I called my friend Jaylene, I only got reception in Slough Creek. And she said, you need to ground yourself and she will show up. And so I think everyone was like, okay. So I grounded myself, my energy to the earth, because it is all energy. Animals are energy. We're all energy. And I grounded my energy and I offered my healing to the earth and to the wolves. And about 30 minutes later, we're up the road in Lamar Valley and 907F shows up with the pack.
Amazing.
And so I talked to my friend Jaylene today and connected with Wolf 8. And she said that he sent 907F to me to see, to carry on that message. And whether people believe, and my thing is, I'm like, whether something's real or not, I believe what we believe, we manifest, and I truly believe that these animal stories need to be told. And she showed up, not once but twice, and we talked about, because you're Keep Women Wild, you're
Yeah.
amazing. Your amazing
Yes.
clothing line, is about the strong woman and the wild woman. And
Thank you so much.
why, yeah, and 907F is the quintessential wild woman that is powerful. And I believe she showed up to me twice for a reason. I mean, I'm going to be 47, and I'm beginning this. I mean, everything's led me up to this point, but I feel like I am beginning this journey, and I love connecting with her because age has no limit. There's nothing that we can't do at any age. And she is proving that at 11 years old, which the average lifespan of a wolf in the wild is 3 to 6 years. That
Crazy.
that is the average. So at 11 years old, she lost one of her eyes at 4 years old, and still continued to be this incredible matriarch, who has just given birth to her sixth litter this past spring, who's still hunting, still this strong, amazing woman. I think speaks volumes for so many women, and especially, us women that are, as we get older, society deems us as less valued, which is completely untrue. We get wiser, we have more perseverance, and I think she has so much to teach us. And I do believe that she showed up for a reason. She put herself there, to carry on, and I think that she is going to not only inspire so many people, but inspire so many women that, as you get older, you get better, you get stronger, you're amazing, and you can do so many things, no matter what. And you can start your journey and change your life at any time in your life.
I love that so much. She is so inspiring, and I think I agree, is the epitome of the wild woman, right? And I think especially for us women, she reminds us to be connected to ourselves. I would actually, the other podcast that I did, with my friend Maria Souza, she her podcast, or her social media handle rather, is Women and Mythology, and she talks about how the wild woman is really just finding our true selves. And I think that 907F is really a great inspiration. I think just weaving together all of the lessons of wisdom, and how wisdom is so important for women, and how like we could value women as they get older. And I think that we should start to do that, because women as they get older, like you said, are badass. They're
Mm-hmm.
amazing, and especially her. I mean, losing an eye and whatever, like she's still going, she's still persevering, and still so powerful. And the biggest thing too is that she's loving, right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing with wolves, is that they're lovers, and they love their family.
Absolutely. And you look at, I bring up, Dr. Jane Goodall again, who, she's 90 years old and she's still traveling and she's still doing something. And I think you look at a wolf is never anything other than it is. It knows exactly what it is, it knows its purpose, it knows its path. And I think so many of us, um, are out of touch with what our true voice is. And I remember watching a study the other day that said there was a percentage of women that they have a higher chance of dying earlier, if they do not express themselves, if they do not speak their mind. That has a huge role in the length of their life. And I love that us as powerful women, and so many women that are coming up and speaking their mind and speaking for animals, and speaking our truth no matter what adversity comes our way. And I'm knowing that the more that my voice gets bigger, the more that's going to come at me in adversity. And I know my purpose and I know what I'm here for. And we all need to realize that speaking our mind and following our path, no matter what comes at us, is our true purpose. And women are so revered in so many cultures, and especially women that are older, are so revered. And I think that's what we need to remember. Like I said, if you look at someone like Jane Goodall, which I just said, traveling, going around, speaking engagements. I saw her speak in Boston last year, and she's smart as a whip, and she's amazing. And the passion that she has towards animals, and she's a huge advocate for wolves as well. It just goes to show, when we live our authentic life and we learn from these wolves, these matriarchs like 907F or '06, her story, she, as I mentioned earlier, there's a 50% puppy mortality rate. She gave birth to 3 litters, and every single one of her pups survived.
Wow.
And
incredible.
You think of these stories of these incredible females. And so Rick McIntyre wrote 3 books about male wolves in Yellowstone, and now he's writing about the strong females. And
I love that. I can't wait to read that.
yeah, he just finished a book about 907F, which I don't know if it's out or is coming out soon. And he's writing the stories about these incredible, powerful females. And I truly believe that the spirit of the wild woman is really making a shift and is really going to come forward. And I truly believe, as so many powerful women and strong women and voices, that our voices are really going to help make a change with the wolves. And it's so beautiful to see all of these incredible, powerful women. And I am so blessed to be amongst you and so many of these beautiful, strong females that are really coming to the forefront.
Yeah, I feel like the cool part about living in the now, of course there's things that are not good, but I think we're finally coming to a point where there's so many beautiful people, and I think that the internet can be a bad place, but it's a good place because it's made us connect. And I've connected just through my brand Femme Sauvage. I've connected with so many amazing women who have these powerful stories, and not only just powerful but unique and special and individual, that are their own. And that's what the wild woman represents, is being your own unique self, whatever that is, and being true to yourself. And the more that you're true to yourself, is the more you're going to be content, and you're going to put that better energy out into the world, and that's going to help heal and connect the world. And I think it's definitely easier for us people that love animals, because when you connect with animals, you see it so easily. You really see that specialness, that their own uniqueness in the environment, what their purpose is, what they're made for, is unique and individual. And then to to go deeper then, and each wolf specifically is an individual, and just obviously broader animals are their own individuals, but I think especially predators get that bad rap, but their intelligence is, I think, what we underestimate, and how smart they are, and how connected they are, and that they're really important. And I think to shine a light on that, and what you're doing is so amazing and special and really powerful, and I think that it's going to change a lot of people's minds. So I think you should keep doing with what you're doing, and
Yeah,
it's
I
yeah.
I feel so blessed, and I am blown away by the opportunities that are coming about. Being able to go out to Wolf Connection and do the podcast with them in the California Wolf Center, and going to Yellowstone, and now we're taking a fun little trip together.
Yes, I'm so excited. We're going down to North Carolina to meet with Wildlife with Aspen, and fingers crossed that we're going to see some red wolves ourselves, some
Yes.
of the remaining completely wild red wolves. Um, and I'm really excited. I'm excited to meet you physically in person,
Yeah.
and to meet Aspen in person, and to be able to hopefully meet and observe these wolves is going to be an incredible gift, hopefully. I'm excited to just get out and be in nature in general. Whatever we see, I'm going to be very thankful
Yeah.
for, but that's going to be very exciting.
And I think it's so important. And one thing, as I felt as an advocate for wolves and talking about the importance of the wild wolf and Yellowstone and different things, was I said I have to be there. I have to know that energy, and I have to connect with them. And I right now I'm also such an advocate for building the wildlife crossing for red wolves. I don't know if a lot of people know, but there are less than 20 red wolves in the wild in North Carolina, and 5 of them have been killed in the last year by vehicle collisions on the highway. And they need this wildlife crossing, and being able to go down there and physically see the area and physically connect to their wild spirit is so important. And to be able to see that is going to help us connect and even advocate for them even more, and understanding. And I think this is, and talking about the wild women connecting with these wild wolves, I think is so crucial. Connecting to the earth, connecting to their spirit, and bringing their spirit alive is so important. And I'm so thankful that you invited me to go down, and I'm excited to meet you and Aspen. And I truly believe, and I'm going to put out that energy too, because I couldn't have written the story any better with my experience in Yellowstone. So I'm going to put that energy out there that we're
Me
going to.
too. Me too, girlfriend. I'm going to put it
Yep.
out there, and I'm going to be
Yep.
like, listen, we're here. We just want to be in your presence and
Yeah.
feel your energy. And another thing I wanted to add about these wildlife crossings too is that they're going to be safer for people. Like,
Mhm.
you're going to be safer also driving your car. It's going to be better for everyone, these
Mhm.
wildlife crossings. And I think especially because they're endangered, that makes it top priority. But I think overall everybody's safety, like, let's try to move towards, you know, because that's so important, that I think that we as a society go towards making sure that we want the best for everybody. We want the best for people, right? We want the best for animals. I don't want somebody out there torturing animals like that. If you're gonna, it doesn't make sense, you know? And I think that it's just going to be really exciting. I think hopefully these next couple of months where we can bring more awareness. I think we're getting, I don't know, I want to say we're getting close. If I have this feeling, this energy that we're getting close to hopefully showing how barbaric it is to just kill something just to kill something. It like I don't think trophy hunting thankfully has that lure as much anymore, and I think that hopefully the heart is connecting, and I think that when we lead with our heart also, uh you connect with people in different ways that you don't realize, and you heal with them in ways that you don't realize, and kindness goes a long way, being kind. And I was also bullied a lot when I was younger, but I think that my thought in my mind is I always want to just be kind to people. I don't want
Yeah.
to put that energy out that someone did to me. And I think the more that we could just be kind to people, even when they don't deserve it or realize it, we have to realize that that's a reflection on ourselves, and to find that purpose within ourselves, that connection to our inner selves is going to create a solid, like almost like a solid tree, right? And our roots are gonna stand strong and not be swayed so much in the wind, to be able to stand strong for things that can't speak for themselves, like wolves and other animals that need our help. And I think that, especially because I have a son, it's very important for me to leave the world a better place than what we found it. And I think that I'm really excited for the next couple months. I'm excited to go down and to meet you in person, and to hopefully meet the wolves, and just get another perspective on everything.
I agree, and I do truly believe that there is a shift going on. I think people are really starting to get tired of the fighting and the animosity, and the you look at it, and our Mother Nature is screaming at us right now.
Yeah,
With all
it
these,
definitely feels that way.
yeah, with all of these wildfires and all of the hurricanes and the weather and the climate issues, and the war against not only the wolves but so much of our environment and our ecosystem. And so many people are getting sick. There's diseases. There's so much. Our food, just our food is being poisoned by by so much, and we
Yeah.
need to connect to ourselves, connect to the spirit world, connect to the animals, connect to the earth. And as an herbalist myself and studying plants, like just even these plants that are everything around us, our trees, are what we're consuming, these natural stuff, they are here to heal us. The animals are here to heal us. They're here to teach. And we've lost sight of our connection to the earth and to each other. And we do forget that we are all connected as humans. And it is hard. And as someone who's been bullied and severely abused, and I almost lost my life at the hands of an abuser, and which is, I think, why I connect with these animals so much, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be tortured. I know what it's like to be physically hurt, to have so much taken away from you. And when I see, like what had happened in Daniel, Wyoming, with that wolf, and seeing how she felt, I know that pain. I've been in that pain, and I do not want to see any other living being suffer at the hands of anyone. And from being in that dark place, I will continue to fight, because no living being, whether it's human, animal, should ever feel that sense of fear or terror from the hands of someone else.
Yeah, thank you so much for being open and sharing that. And to me, it really seems like the wolves chose a beautiful, perfect advocate for them, because I can really see how your story really relates to the spirit of the wolf as a whole right now, and how they are treated, and how you were treated, and how the intricacies also of wolves and women are so connected. I think that over history, women have been, really misunderstood. So there's something especially about wolves and women that really connect. And I think that it makes sense to try to bring them up to speed with us women, like, right? Like, we're voting, we're everything. Let's stop persecuting these wolves. It doesn't make sense. Their populations can control themselves, and what they stand for is something that we should be looking for in ourselves spiritually. We should be looking for that connection with family, and the parents are loving and doting and protective and fierce. And I love that is what you see in them. I think that people that truly love wolves, that's very obvious to them, and their connections. And I'm so grateful that the wolves have you, because you're a strong, kick-ass woman, and you're really showing people the beautiful side of wolves.
Yeah,
And I think that's really
and if
important.
one lesson that I think um, that even Wolf 8, and I think why I connected to him so much, that Wolf 8 can teach us, is that the alpha wolf of the pack, he became this legendary alpha not because he was the biggest, not because he was the strongest. He became this leader and this alpha male and this legendary wolf because he had the strongest spirit and the strongest heart and the strongest passion and the love, and he took Wolf Nine's pups in as his own and loved them and raised them. And his legacy of an alpha male is because he persevered. And so if we think about wanting to become the best and leave our legacy, it's not about beating everyone else. It's not about becoming the best or the strongest or the toughest. It's about who we become and how we can have the biggest heart, how we can persevere through adversity, how we can overcome our challenges, and how we can truly love, because he was a legendary wolf because of his heart and because he loved so much, not because he was the strongest and he beat all these animals. It was because he persevered and rose above adversity, and used his heart in order to lead the way. And I think that should show us that no matter whether we have been bullied, have abused, whether we have a disability, or I have Lyme disease, also chronic illness, just because we do not feel physically strong or we don't feel the best or the toughest, if you have heart and if you have perseverance and if you love truly and you're a kind person, that is how you can win in life.
That's a beautiful sentiment too, because I think love, in that, especially in this story, love is the strongest aspect. And I think that in life, love is strongest, and that is the strongest force. And that makes so much sense in general. And just looking at that story, it's very obvious with him adopting the other wolves, and he used his wits and his smarts. And it's not about being the big tough guy, it's about leading with your heart and your soul. And he led a great example of that, and it clearly made its way to 907F. So what a beautiful example. I think that's a great place for us to end tonight.
Yes.
And I would love to have you back on again. But just before we go, please let everybody know again where they can reach you, and how they can find you.
Yeah, so you can reach me on Instagram, either my wolf page, which is at wolfgirl_Maine. I also do healing work, which is under Wolf Spirit Healing, and I incorporate so much of the wolf spirit into my healing work, and also, if you guys want to follow Wolf Hollow, it's Wolf Hollow MA on Instagram. Our amazing volunteer Viana posts a lot about wolf facts as well. And another page which I highly recommend for people that really want to learn more about wolves and get involved in the wolf community is the Wolf Connection podcast. They've been on for 4 years now. There is so much information, interviewing so many different people, and really deep dives into so many of the wolf issues going on, so that will keep everyone up to date on what is going on in the wolf community.
Yeah, I love the Wolf Connection podcast also. It's awesome. I'll make sure to link all those when I publish this episode so everyone can easily find you and all of your recommendations for getting into a deeper dive about wolves. And I'm so excited to meet you in person and to go see the red wolves and feel their energy and be around them, and to meet Aspen. We're coming for you, Aspen. We're so excited. And we'll talk soon. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Bye.
And the mountains so high and so deep, I feel in my bones. In the call of the wild's always bringing me